Name's Jake Madsen. Been running freight out of North. Get used to the asphalt talking back at you after enough miles. And don't get me wrong, I've seen plenty. Scale dodgers, ghost dispatchers, even one guy trying to haul pallets of vape juice like it was hazmat. But nothing really stuck in my craw till that run down I-20 through Georgia. Thought I'd seen enough to know what's what. Turns out experience don't always mean protection. Sometimes it just makes you more interesting to the wrong kind of people. It was Tuesday, early April. Pulled out of Smithfield's yard in Tar Heel with a full reefer load of pork bound for Birmingham. Nothing fancy. 79,300 pounds with fuel, legal on the spread. Paperwork was tight, reefer temp set to 33 degrees. Broker gave me a clean rate and a pickup window that didn't make me sweat. Figured I'd run down I-95 to I-20 and cut across the state. Weather was holding steady. Gray skies, light drizzle, but the kind that keeps your windshield from getting dusty. I hit I-20 out of Florence and merged smooth. Truck was pulling good. Tires had fresh tread, no codes on the dash, just me, the rumble, and Channel 19, half muted in the background. Same chatter as always, lot lizards in Atlanta, DOT hideouts near Madison. One guy swearing his EGR delete gave him 12 more horses. I laughed, cracked open a bottle of water, and kept rolling. Somewhere just past Augusta, near mile marker 196, I heard it. CB crackled to life like someone had kicked it. "Blue Pete with the Smithfield tag, you're coming up fast." Voice was dry, no drawl, just matter of fact. I sat up a bit. Ain't that many Blue Petes with that kind of trailer, not at that time of morning. I didn't answer. Could have been someone talking about a different truck. Coincidences happen. I let it slide. A few miles later, I stop at the Loves off Lewiston Road. Top off the tanks, grab a sausage biscuit, and use the head. Parked next to a red W900. Driver sitting inside watching TikToks with the volume up. Didn't look up once. I nodded anyway, out of habit. Got back in my cab, pulled out slow, rolled back onto the highway. CB's still on low, white noise humming like a tired wasp. I'm cruising past Grovetown when the voice comes back, this time clearer. "Jake, you're light on the steers and heavy on the trailer. You scaled that yet?" That's when my gut twisted. They said my damn name. Now, I know what you're thinking. Could have been someone messing around, maybe knew me from a yard or a meetup. Problem is, I hadn't told nobody where I was going, not even the broker. And that weight guess? It wasn't a guess, it was damn near exact. My drives were a touch under, and I'd planned to hit the scale in Madison just to be sure I was legal. But this voice, whoever it was, already knew. They even nailed the balance. I didn't answer, just fleeked the squelch and let the channel go quiet. Pulled out my logbook, double-checked the dispatch sheet. All clean.
No leaks far as I could see. Still, my brain started grinding. Only a few ways someone gets info like that. They're nearby, they've seen my load ticket, or someone fed it to them. 20 minutes out from the Madison Way, I start thinking maybe I imagined it. Maybe it's just CB games, same way folks mess with newbies running doubles. But then, right before the scale radio lights up again, "Jake, go past it. You're good. Just roll through. Don't need that scale today." Voice was calm, not suggesting, telling. I glance in my mirror. Nothing behind me but a silver T680 in a flatbed way back. I let my foot off the throttle. I don't like being told what to do, not by some ghost on the CB, but damn if it didn't feel like a setup. That scale sees everything, if I'm flagged, if I'm dirty, even if I just look wrong. So I start slow rolling, lean toward the decision. Exit's coming up. I could take the bypass, skip the scale, and cut back in after. It ain't illegal, technically, not if you're underweight and logbook's tight, but it raises eyebrows. I flicked my signal, took the ramp. A few seconds later, CB chirps again. "Told you you'd listen." That's it. No name, no laugh, no gloat. Just that line. Gave me the chills. I rode quiet for a bit, pulled over at the fuel stop outside Buckhead, walked inside, grabbed a soda I didn't want. When I came back, there was a little scrap of duct tape stuck to the bottom of my driver's door. Didn't think much of it. peeled it off, tossed it. But then it hit me. Duct tape on a clean door means someone was there. Real recent. I don't park near other trucks unless I have to. This stop was half empty. I looked around, no one staring, no one lurking, but I felt watched. Not the usual eyes on the load feeling either. Deeper, like someone was tracking my choices. I fired her up, rolled out of there, and turned the radio down low. Sat in the cab with my mind buzzing. You ever hear your own name on a radio you didn't key up? Ever have someone call your axle weights before you scale? That's a different kind of quiet after that. The kind that makes you think maybe you're not running solo anymore. Maybe someone's already a few steps ahead, and you just didn't see him set the road. I kept west on I-20, trying to shake that voice from earlier, but it stuck in my head like an old country hook you don't even like. My mirrors were clean, truck felt solid, reefer humming fine, but I couldn't get easy. I figured maybe I overreacted. Maybe it was some joker with a scanner and too much time. But it still bugged me. Who the hell knows your weights before you scale? So I pulled into the Pilot at Madison, even though I'd already skipped the scale. Old habit. Needed caffeine and maybe a second opinion. Parked in the back row by the fence, cut the engine, and walked in. Place smelled like fryer oil and burnt coffee, same as always. I grabbed a cup and stood by the hot dog roller, half listening to two drivers argue about drive time limits. Then I saw Rami, guy I used to run team with back when I was leased on to a small carrier out of Fayetteville. Solid driver, sharp guy. Always wore this ratty Braves cap like it was glued to his damn head. He was standing near the coffee station, picking out a muffin like it owed him money. He noticed me first. "Jake, hell man, what rock you crawled out from?" I grinned. "Same rock as always, just polished now." We stepped outside, stood near his truck, a white Cascadia with a fresh wash and a bent antenna. Swapped some road talk, usual stuff. I kept the strange CB chatter to myself, till I couldn't help it anymore. "You ever hear someone on 19 call you by name without introducing themselves?" I asked. He paused. "On the CB? Not lately. Why?" I told him about the voice, the weights, the warning to skip the scale. He frowned. "That ain't normal. You scale this load?" "Nope. That's the thing. They called it before I ever hit the scale." He looked down the parking lot like answers were buried in the asphalt. "You think someone's tailing you?" "Nobody close enough. And no one's got eyes on my trailer unless they're damn good." He ran a hand over his jaw. "You got cameras on your trailer?" I nodded. "One. Rear view only. Nothing's flagged." "Could be ELD leak," he said. "Saw a thread on a forum. Guys claiming someone's sniffing GPS packets. Brokers get hacked. Dispatch apps ain't locked down. Wouldn't take much." We didn't say much after that. He handed me a cigarette, even though I quit 2 years ago. I didn't smoke it, just rolled it in my fingers and thought. I got back on the road a little before noon. Heat was rising, sky turning from gray to white. That time of day when the sun don't fry you, but it'll bake your dashboard like a biscuit tin. About 15 miles out of Madison, Channel 21 lit up. "Blue Pete with the reefer. You're gonna want to stay in the right lane. Construction coming up." Same voice, same dry tone. But this time it didn't stop there. "Drive tires reading 32. Trailers 34. You're sitting on the line." That's when I knew this wasn't just some weirdo guessing. I hadn't shared that weight with anyone. Didn't scale, didn't scan, didn't text it. Closest I'd come was eyeballing it based on the air gauge and what the doc said. And they were right. Maybe up by a couple hundred, but close enough to raise every hair on my arms. I grabbed the mic, pressed the button, and said, "You got a name, cowboy?" Dead air. "Funny how you know my weights, but don't got the balls to say who you are." Still nothing. I threw the mic down. Heart was pounding, not from fear, but from feeling exposed. Naked almost,
like somebody was peeking through the cab windows without being seen. I stayed in the right lane like he said. Construction zone showed up right where he called it. Lane shift, cones, couple guys in orange vests watching traffic like buzzards. No flaggers, no troopers, just a slow roll. Part of me thought, hell, maybe he's trying to help.
But that ain't how this game works. If you know my truck, my name, and my load, you ain't doing me favors. You're looking for leverage. Outside Covington, I stopped at a Shell. Not one of the big chain ones. This was one of those old roadside deals with a half-dead air pump and faded hot dog signs in the window. Bought a Gatorade and a bag of sunflower seeds. Sat in the truck for a while with the CB turned down low. I started checking for trackers. Looked under the fifth wheel, nothing. Pulled up my ELD diagnostics, scanned for new devices, Bluetooth hits, rogue pings. Nothing there either. Reefer controls weren't sending anything they shouldn't. I even checked under the hood in case someone got cute and stuffed a transmitter near the firewall. Still nothing. But then I remembered the Qualcomm. It's old school, sure, but still networked. If someone got into the broker's system, they'd have visibility to my load, my ID, maybe even the route suggestions. I pulled up the last 2 dispatch messages. The load number was the same, but there was a time-stamped note from an hour ago. Driver cleared for bypass east of Madison. Route approved. Only thing is, I never got that message. Not on the screen, not in the cab. I called dispatch. Phone rang 3 times before Dana picked up. She's the night shift lead, been working there longer than most of the suits. Hey Jake, you good? You send me any messages today? Just the standard load sheet. Why? You didn't approve a bypass. Nothing about Madison? She paused. I could hear keyboard clicking. Nope, nothing for me. You get something else? Yeah, looking at it right now. Says I was cleared to skip the scale. Another pause. That ain't us. Jake, you got malware or something on your cab unit? I don't think so. Weird. Want me to open a ticket? Nah, just log the time and keep an eye on my load notes. If anything else shows up, call me direct. She said she would. I thanked her and hung up. I sat there for a while, engine idling low, window cracked. The smell of diesel and asphalt came through like it always does, but it felt different now. Like I was sitting in a house someone had broken into, and I couldn't find where they got in. Back on the road, I decided to keep the CB low but on. Couldn't afford to go deaf. I was starting to believe this wasn't just random interference. Somebody was watching. Maybe not close, maybe not in a truck, but they were there, somewhere in the wires. Somewhere between the load board, the ELD, and the airwaves. And they knew my name. I stuck to the right lane most of the way through Conyers, past Atlanta before the afternoon jam started piling up. I kept the radio on low, no voices for a while, just the hum of static like it was waiting for me to forget it was there. I didn't. Not yet. Took a piss break at a little stop outside Douglasville. Sunoco with a busted diesel pump and some worn-out pump-side ads for hot wings they probably hadn't sold in months. I didn't need fuel, just needed to stretch, walk off the nerves. I checked my trailer locks again, even though I knew they hadn't been touched. Just habit now. Back on the highway, I started wondering about the weigh station coming up west of Villa Rica. It wasn't a mandatory, not always active, but the last time I'd passed it loaded, they'd flagged me in just for blinking too long. I started thinking about what that voice said last time. You're good. Go on through. I still had no idea if they were just calling the shots or if they actually had eyes on the damn route map. I figured I'd exit before the scale and rejoin after. There's a back road, Whitesburg Road, that snakes around it and pops out near Bremen. It's not fast, but it's empty and quiet, which is exactly what I needed. Soon as I hit the exit ramp, the CB chirped. Good move, Jake. Just keep her steady. Nothing ahead but trees and time. Same voice, smooth like he was sitting next to me. I didn't answer. I just reached up, turned the volume down till the static was a whisper and kept driving. Road was narrow, 2-lane black top, shoulder barely wide enough to pee on.
Old farmhouses with rusted mailboxes, dogs running loose, a tractor or two sitting dead in front yards like lawn ornaments. No traffic, no DOT, no cameras, just me and the voice that somehow still knew where I was. I came up on a crossroads where the GPS had me turn left. I was just about to signal when I saw the pickup. Old F-150, gray paint half peeled off, sitting on the gravel shoulder like it had been waiting. Driver's side window rolled down, guy in a ball cap and sunglasses. Gave a slow wave, like he knew me, like we had a schedule. I slowed to a crawl, hand on the brake. Didn't know what I was expecting. Maybe him to wave me down, maybe him to shout through the window. But he didn't. He just pointed ahead and mouthed, "Go on." I drove past, checked my mirrors. He stayed put. Didn't move, didn't follow. Just sat there with the engine running. I stayed on Whitesburg till I rejoined I-20, rolled back onto the ramp with my hands slick with sweat, even though the AC was running cold. Reefer was holding temp, trailer was tight, and I was still legal on time. Everything outside looked fine. It was just the inside that didn't feel right anymore. An hour later, I pulled into a TA near Tallapoosa to grab dinner and park up for the night. Found a back corner spot near the fence line, nose out, no one on either side. I like to park where I can see the exit, just in case. Habit from back when I used to haul mixed freight through Memphis at night. Went inside, grabbed a meatloaf plate, and sat down alone near the window. Place was half empty.
Bunch of guys glued to their phones. One older driver working on a crossword. A couple of kids talking about buying their own rigs. Everyone's world was turning as usual. I chewed slow, watching the lot through the window. About halfway through the meatloaf, I saw that same F-150 just cruising through the lot like it was looking for a space, even though there weren't any for it to park in. Didn't stop, didn't loop, just rolled past slow and pulled out the other end. I left the tray, walked out, and stood by the back of my trailer watching. No sign of him. Just a couple trucks idling. One guy with his hood open, wrenching something blind. I walked around my trailer slow. Still locked, still sealed. No marks, no scuffs. I crouched down, checked the mud flaps, the license plate, even the brake lines. Everything was where it should be. But I still felt off, like someone had just walked through my thoughts and left the door open. I climbed back in the cab, locked both doors, killed the inside lights, and sat in the dark with the CB turned all the way down. Didn't sleep right. Every noise felt personal. Every air brake pop, every footstep outside the cab, every creak of the trailer. I kept thinking about the guy in the pickup, the wave, the nod, the way he knew just when I'd show up. That wasn't a guess, that was a plan, a checkpoint. Around 2 a.m., I gave up on sleep. Fired her up, rolled out, and merged back onto the westbound. Figured I'd get through Alabama before the sun was up. I needed distance. Didn't know from what exactly, but I needed it. That voice on the CB wasn't just watching anymore. It was guiding. Or maybe hurting. And I had no damn idea where it wanted me to end up. I crossed into Alabama just before sunrise, somewhere past Muscadine. The road was dead quiet, only a couple of flatbeds out early and a few four-wheelers drifting west like ghosts. I've been driving straight since 2 a.m. No music, CB turned off, mind chewing on the same thought over and over. Who the hell was tracking me, and how deep did it go? I pulled into the rest area outside Oxford to take a leak and pour another thermos of truck stop coffee into my gut. While I stood there staring at the mirror above the sink, I thought back through every load I'd run in the past year. I'd had brokers ghost me, lumpers overcharge me, dispatchers lie through their teeth, but nobody ever got in my cab without opening the damn door. This felt different, like someone was riding with me, right there in the system. Back of the truck, I checked the Qualcomm again. The ghost message from earlier, the one about route approval, was gone. Not archived, not pushed down the list. Gone. Like it had never existed. I didn't delete it, I know that. I scrolled back through every communication from the broker and dispatch. Clean. Not a trace. I called Rami again. He picked up quick. Sounded like he was driving.
I said,
You ever hear of a system where someone can plant and erase messages in the Qualcomm? He didn't answer right away. Then, I heard stories. Guy out of Dallas said he had load instructions show up and vanish. Thought he was losing his mind. It happened to him more than once? Twice. Third time, he pulled the plug on his whole unit. Said the thing was acting like a second dispatcher. Did he find out who was behind it? Nope. But he stopped running that lane, changed brokers, said it only happened with loads coming from a certain outfit. That hit me like a slap. My load wasn't booked directly with Smithfield. It came through a broker called Heller Creek Logistics. Midwest outfit. Clean record, far as I knew. Decent pay, never late on settlements. I'd pulled maybe 4, 5 loads for 'em before this one. Nothing weird. I got their number from my dispatch emails and dialed. Figured I'd talk to whoever was on their freight board and play dumb. Receptionist answered, transferred me to some guy named Brent. Voice was young, sharp, full of caffeine and sales talk. Brent, this is Jake Madsen, pulling your Smithfield load to Birmingham. Got a quick question. Sure, shoot. I had a routing instruction come through my Qualcomm early yesterday. Said I was cleared to bypass the Madison scale. That come from y'all? Pause. We don't usually give routing instructions like that. That'd be up to dispatch or fleet ops. Well, my dispatch says it didn't come from them. You sure it came from us? I'm sure it came from somewhere, and it had your load number on it. He got quiet. I could hear him clicking through a keyboard or something in the background. Then he said, "Hold on a sec, let me pull something up." A minute passed, then another. I sat there watching the sun peek over the trees while a car hauler hissed past me on the ramp. Brent came back on. "All right, weird thing. Looks like someone accessed your load file yesterday around 10:14 a.m. from an admin login." Okay. But that login's been inactive for 3 months. It belonged to a guy we let go. Why'd you let him go? He was acting shady with carrier info. We couldn't prove he did anything illegal, but there were enough red flags we didn't want to take chances. We locked the account. IT says it's never been reactivated. Well, someone got into it. Silence. He said, "Let me talk to my supervisor. I'll call you back in 30. Make it 20. I hung up and sat there staring at the dashboard, thinking about all the times I'd trusted the system. The rate cons, the e-signatures, the GPS updates, all that data going back and forth like a damn slot machine, open for whoever's smart enough to sneak past the doors. I fired up the engine, pulled back on the road, and kept rolling. I didn't like the idea of some ex-employee creeping through my route file like he was still on the payroll.
I didn't like not knowing if he was just poking around for info or trying to get something from me. And most of all, I didn't like that he knew my name, my weight, and my position before I even scaled. Outside Birmingham, traffic started thickening. I passed a way station that was open and hot. Usually I'd roll through legal and easy. This time I took the exit before it. Sat for 10 minutes, checked the load straps again, checked the trailer seal again, walked the whole truck twice. No trackers, no tags, nothing out of place. When I finally rolled into my drop lot on the west side, I didn't go straight to the dock. I parked behind a line of reefers, turned off my phone, pulled the fuse on the Qualcomm, and just sat in silence. 25 minutes later, Brent called back. I let it ring 4 times before answering. "Jake," he said. We dug into it. That account wasn't just accessed, it was spoofed. Someone's piggybacking off our system through an old server that didn't get scrubbed when we switched platforms. So your ex-guy still has a back door. Looks like it. And from what we can see, he's been watching more than just your load. Your You're not the only one. You notify the others? Not yet. Legal's involved now. It's a mess. I laughed once, bitter. Yeah, I'm sitting in the middle of it. He said they'd pull the load from the system and reissue it under a new ID. They'd also be alerting the DOT and making a statement if it got worse. I told him none of that helped me right now. Before he hung up, he added, "You got every right to refuse another load from us." I know. And I hung up. At night, I checked into a motel off I-459, something with outside doors and a busted vending machine. I didn't want to sleep in the cab, not with that voice still echoing in my head. I stared at the ceiling for hours, trying to decide if this was a one-time thing or the new normal, if the road I thought I knew was still the same road, or if I was driving blind with someone else holding the map. I rolled out of that motel just after 6, still half dead from the night. Didn't dream, didn't really sleep either. Just laid there on a lumpy mattress with the sound of reefer units humming from the lot outside. My back was stiff and my head was heavier than it should have been. All I wanted was to drop the damn load, get paid, and put a couple 100 miles between me and whatever the hell I'd stepped in. But this story wasn't finished with me yet. It was an easy drop technically, little distribution center in Bessemer. Not a big name place, but they moved meat all day long. I pulled into the lot, backed into door 7, killed the motor. The dock guy, older black dude with a limp and a toothpick hanging out the corner of his mouth, came out and waved me in. "You to Smithfield Pork?" "Yeah." "Dock 7, paperwork inside." While they unloaded, I went in to sign off and grab a printout. The lady at the counter barely looked at me.
She handed me the BOL, initialed it, then paused. "You was the one got rerouted past Madison, right?" My eyes lifted. "Who told you that?" She tapped the desk. "Load notes." I leaned over the counter. "What notes?" She turned the monitor toward me. There it was, under the reference number. "Driver rerouted per internal instruction. Bypass way station Madison, GA. Verified GPS alternate path." I stared at the screen. "Internal from who?" She shook her head. "That ain't my department. We just unload." I took the paperwork and stepped outside. Stood there a full minute staring at the sky like it might have answers. Then I climbed back into the Pete and sat still, not even firing it up yet. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. A text followed a second later. "How'd it feel to skip the line?" I didn't reply. I deleted it, turned off the phone, and pulled out. Got about 10 miles down I-459 before the blue lights flashed in my mirror. DOT Cruiser. Unmarked Ford. I pulled onto the shoulder, no idea what this was now. Officer walked up slow, hand on the door rail. I handed him my license, med card, and logbook before he asked, "Where are you coming from, driver?" "A Smithfield load out of North Carolina, just delivered in Bessemer." He nodded, flipped through my log. "You skipped the Madison way?" "Rerouted per broker instructions," I said. Not a lie, not exactly. He raised his eyebrows. "Got that in writing?" "No, sir." He walked back to his car, sat in there a long time. When he came back, he handed me my stuff, didn't give me a ticket, just leaned on the window frame. "You're not the first one this week got told to skip the line," he said. 3 others. 2 flagged at the next scale for permit issues, 1 had bad logs. "What's going on?" "We're trying to figure that out. You didn't break any laws, yet. But if someone's feeding you ghost instructions, you better trace it back." I nodded, didn't say much else. He patted the door twice and walked off. That's when I knew this thing wasn't just about me. Someone's running an operation. Small or big, I didn't know. But they weren't just screwing with my trip. They were using me as a test run. I got to a truck stop off exit 100, parked behind the fuel island, and called a guy I knew in Birmingham named Tyler. He used to dispatch for a reefer outfit that went belly up after a cyber breach. Lost 3 trucks in 1 week. Bad routes, double booked loads, DOT crawling up their ass. Tyler picked up, his voice scratchy like he hadn't slept. "Jake, long time. I got a problem. You still driving for Mid-Pine? Independent now, pulling broker freight." "Go on." I gave him the short version. CB chatter, the ghost voice, the deleted Qualcomm message, the note in the warehouse screen. He didn't laugh, didn't ask if I was high. He said, "Sounds like ghost routing." "Ghost what?" "Old term. Backdoor loads. Someone taps into a broker system, watches the board in real time."
When a load gets picked, they clone the info, track the driver through third-party ELD taps or GPS pings, then reroute them. Sometimes it's to steal the load, sometimes just to test access. This wasn't a theft. Not yet. I sat there thinking, you think they wanted me to get popped? Maybe. Maybe they were using you to see if they could move a unit without flags. If you got pulled and fined, they'd know how tight the net is. If you made it clean, they'd try it again. And if I had called in to verify the reroute, they'd know who talks and who don't. I rubbed my face. They're using us like lab rats. Your data, Jake. That's all. You're not hauling pork. You're all in telemetry. They got no face, no truck, no DOT number, just code and access. I thanked him, told him I owned a case of something cold, and hung up. That night, I stayed parked. Didn't book another load, didn't even scroll the boards. I just sat there in the cab, watching the other drivers pull in and out, wondering how many of them were on ghost routes without knowing it. How many of them had heard voices on the CB and chalked it up to coincidence. How many would get pulled over like I did, heart pounding, logbook tight, still feeling like they were one question away from losing their authority. I ain't scared easy, but I ain't stupid either. I know when I'm in over my head. This wasn't some glitch. This was controlled, monitored, layered. Someone out there was watching the routes, calling the shots, and taking notes. And they knew my name. After 2 nights parked, I routed myself south through Leeds, no load, bobtailing. Told dispatch I was taking a break, checking tires, waiting on a PM. Truth was, I just needed to breathe, think, figure out what the hell to do next. Leeds has this tire shop off the main drag, old family-run place behind a shell station. Used to patch me up back when I ran dump trailers through here. They know me. More importantly, they don't ask questions. Pulled in mid-morning, parked along the side fence. Owner's boy, Travis, was working on a dump truck axle in the bay. He saw me, waved with a wrench in his hand. "Jake, you break something or just lonely?" "Neither, I hope. You got 5 minutes?" "Sure. Give me 2 to torque this bastard down." I lit a smoke and sat on a milk crate by the shop door, watching the dust dance in the sunlight. That shop always smelled like burned rubber, grease, and stories. I liked it that way. When Travis came out, he wiped his hands on a rag and plopped down beside me. "All right, talk." I laid it out for him. The voice, the bypass, the CB calling my name, Qualcomm messages disappearing, DOT stopping me just short of a write-up, warehouse terminal showing ghost instructions, and the broker admitting their old login got hijacked. He didn't interrupt, just listened like a man changing a tire by feel, waiting for the wobble. When he finished, he looked over at me, said, "I know a guy. Real low profile.
Used to work back-end security for a fleet out of Atlanta before the company folded. He's off books now. Fixes stuff people don't want to file paperwork for. You trust him?" "I trust that he knows where the cracks are." That afternoon, he made the call, and by 6 I was sitting across from a guy named Dylan at a diner just off 280. Real lean, real twitchy, real quiet.
Didn't eat, just drank coffee and typed on a little laptop with keys so worn you could barely see the letters. Wore a ring on his thumb and kept his phone upside down on the table. He asked questions, short and fast. I gave him everything. Every log, screenshot, timestamp I had left. Even told him about the guy in the pickup, the text message, the way station skip. When I was done, he nodded once. You're clean, they're dirty. Who's they? He said, whoever's inside the old broker system, not random hackers, not some kid in a hoodie. This is someone who knew how to stay invisible. Why me? He said, because you ran a perfect profile. Clean logs, reliable, quiet. Someone like that's easy to ghost without drawing attention. You don't argue with routing. You don't call in unless you have to. So I'm just a test run? Most likely. Or a pattern check. Maybe someone trying to see how far they can push the system before somebody flags it. What now? He closed the laptop and looked me in the eye. He said, you got two choices, man. You can report this loud, post on every forum, contact the FMCSA, raise hell, and you'll get frozen out. Brokers won't touch you. Carriers will see you as a risk. You become that driver, the one who brings problems. And the other choice? You shut your mouth, you change lanes, stop running their loads, don't touch anything from Heller Creek or anyone they partner with. You keep your routes simple, tight, and off their radar. You take it as a lesson. That's not much of a fix. It's not a fix. It's survival. He stood up, drained his cup, and left a 5 under the mug. I didn't ask how he knew so much. Didn't feel like the kind of man who explained things. Next day, I went through my broker list. Cut out 5 of them. All ones that had any kind of paper trail with that ex-employee name tied to them. I called dispatch, told them I wasn't taking any Georgia-bound freight for a while. Said I was focusing on Texas lanes. They didn't argue. They know I don't spruik easy, so if I was shuffling my routes, it meant something real. Later that week, I parked at a Petro in Louisiana, near Shreveport. I was hauling frozen peas, light load, paid fare. While I fueled up, I saw a driver walk by wearing a Heller Creek hat. Young guy, driving a newer Freightliner. He looked happy, like he hadn't heard a voice on the CB yet, like nobody had ever called his axle weight out loud. I didn't say nothing. Just watched him pull out onto the highway. I climbed back in my cab, locked the doors, and for the first time in days, turned the CB back on.
Channel 19 was alive with the usual trash talk and road gossip. Some guy near Dallas complaining about chicken plant wait times. Another guy warning about radar traps eastbound on I-20. Sounded normal. Sounded like the road again. But I kept the squelch high and the volume low. Just enough to hear, not enough to talk. I wasn't about to forget, and I sure as hell wasn't going to get caught sleeping again. I run different now. Not scared, just smarter. You do enough miles and you learn to tell the difference. Scared will get you jumping at shadows. Smarter keeps you alive and paid. First thing I did was drop every route that passed through central Georgia. I don't care how clean the rate con looks, how good the broker's name sounds. If it touches I-20 between Augusta and the Alabama line, I don't want it. I'd rather deadhead 200 miles and run that stretch again with someone breathing down my neck through a CB. I changed brokers too. Took a hit on pay, but at least now I know who I'm dealing with. Small outfits mostly, where I can talk to a person and not a system. Guys that still pick up their phone and remember your name without scrolling through a CRM. Ain't always convenient, and sometimes I sit longer waiting on a load, but the peace of mind's worth every unpaid hour. I stopped using my ELD's built-in route optimizer. That's another thing I don't trust now. If someone could ghost into Qualcomm through an old admin key, what's to stop them from rerouting me again? So now it's paper backups. I carry a Rand McNally Atlas behind the seat with notes in the margins and routes I know won't get me flagged, followed, or talked about by strangers. CB stays off, unless I'm in traffic or near a scale. Even then, I keep it low. If someone calls me by name, I don't answer. I don't key up. I don't feed it. Let them talk.
Let 'em guess. I'm not playing the game no more. The strangest part is how normal it all looks now. Same roads, same truck stops, same faces. But under it, something changed. There's cracks in the surface. I hear it in the way drivers talk. Shorter, sharper. I seen guys park and do full walkarounds 3 times before settling in for the night. Like they're trying to find something they can't name. Maybe they feel it too, whatever it is. Maybe they've heard the voice, or seen the messages that vanish, or watched a truck follow them 2 states and disappear before they could catch a plate. I ain't told many folks the whole story. Rami knows. Travis and Dylan know. A couple old-timers I just heard bits and pieces over coffee. Most drivers wouldn't believe it anyway. And the ones who would, they're probably already caught in it. Maybe they're rolling right now with a ghost in the line, thinking it's just weird luck that their load got waved past the scale, or their CB picked up a voice that knew too much. What still eats at me is this. They never tried to take the load. Never threatened me. Never asked for money. It wasn't about the freight.
It was about control. Someone out there wanted to see if they could steer a rig by remote, move a driver like a piece on a board. And they could. They did. That's the part I can't shake. So now I drive tighter. Fewer miles, more eyes. I changed how I log, how I park, how I answer the phone. I keep a burner in the glove box that ain't tied to my ELD or dispatch or anything with my name on it. If someone pings me now, I'll know, and I'll be ready. I still think about that pickup sometimes, the one that waved me past like we'd made a deal. I don't know who he was or how he found me, but I don't forget faces. If I see him again, I won't wave back. I won't stop. I'll just note the direction and time and keep moving. Thing is, once you know someone's watching, you start seeing shadows everywhere. Some of them are real, some ain't. But you treat everyone like it matters, because the one you ignore, that's the one that flips your logbook upside down and puts your rig on some YouTube dashcam channel with a clickbait title and a bunch of armchair drivers calling you a dumbass. I ain't about to end up like that. I'm still running, still moving freight, still drinking truck stop coffee and listening to tires hum under bridges. But I'm not the same. The road's not the same. And if I ever hear that voice again, calling me by name, I won't be surprised. I won't answer, but I won't be surprised.